You can only ride racehorses when you're young. So instead of doing my college degrees, that's what I did.
It was the fall of 2017 when Canadian photographer Jonathan Forsythe and myself, German journalist Thomas Venker, traveled the United States of America from East Coast to West Coast. We wanted to meet and speak to real Americans, to get a deeper understanding of the country and its people, to understand their lives in their own words and our pictures. Welcome to the Talking to Americans podcast, an audio companion to the book of the same name. This is our journey, told through their stories. Today we will introduce you to Rhonda Thieman, in whose Americano motel we lucked upon during a sudden midnight snowstorm in Vaughn, New Mexico. Rhonda will tell us about her love for riding the horses, praise the calm lifestyle of New Mexico, and give us some very personal insight about her family history.
We've been here for 50 years, so it's been a long time, and people say, "Ooh, how can you like it so remote, you know?" And we say we don't miss the gridlock in the traffic, we don't miss the crime, which was very bad there 50 years ago, and now we can't even imagine. We don't miss the racism, was real stupid. You know, they're just squawking, they don't resolve problems or get along, so I'm a horse-loving girl, so I love everything Western. My dad did too. History, you know. Oh, New Mexico's got rich history. Goes way back. It's not pretty. When my dad was young, between two wars, he took the GI Bill and went to college. And then, because he was good in school, he joined the Army. But then, between the two wars at that time, he wanted adventure. So on freight trains across the United States, he did an adventure. You know, he left his money at home, and traveled across to see the country. And here in New Mexico, they were looking for young guys like that to put up the long-distance telephone lines. And that was where he fell in love with the state. And it's the place to be in the summertime, because it's cool. It's hot during the day, but it's cool at night and dry, you know, no humidity. You can sleep like a baby here. Anyway, the company sent him back because they wanted him on permanently. He had an electrical engineer degree, so that's wiring, you know. But so they sent him back, and then he got married and had kids, but he always said, "I'm going to take my family back to the Southwest," because, and I don't think any of the Southwestern states would have done, but his favorite and the one he knew the best happened to be New Mexico. So we came here, and the education was way behind where we came from, which that's an advantage to make it easy in school. But in the end, you know, you're suffering at having a better education, but that's just the way it is, you know. I was pretty spoiled, you know. I mean, I worked hard, and our parents didn't pay us to work for them. But I always wanted to ride racehorses. And I went to college at New Mexico State University, as in Las Cruces. Well, right there on the edge of El Paso, still in New Mexico, is a racetrack. So instead of doing my college degrees, you can only ride racehorses when you're young. So that's what I did. But I said, hey, I paid for it myself. And I was over 18 then, so I was like, I'm going to do this. And I happened to be the right size, so they liked me. If they don't like you, then that's a big factor, because they're kind of a closed society there. And then I loved it, but it's very dangerous. You know, you see a lot of accidents, and that's not fun. They're your friends, you know, and I did everything. I didn't care. I was already a little too old, but they said, look, it's dangerous. You didn't start as a kid and your parents weren't into it, so ease into it. But I worked the horses because I was so light. I worked at the farm and midwifed the broodmares, the little babies being born, and I loved it. All the different aspects except for the danger and the money. A lot of times, like there at the farms, they provided you with a place to live, so I didn't have to pay rent. I'm the youngest of three. My brother, my sister, and me. Just the three of us, so that's pretty cushy as families go. My sister lives up the street. This was family business, and we lost my brother in an accident when he was 40. And then my folks passed away about 10 years ago, one and then the other. Then that leaves my sister and I. So we just keep it small. That way, you know, we don't want to get rich, but that's okay. Who needs more than you need? It's pleasant. We don't have too much pressure. When you start getting too much business, it's not the increase of money. It's just then we would have to hire help, and we don't hire help. We keep it simple. If we want to go to Albuquerque or Roswell, or they're a long ways away, but they're just highways, an hour and a half, and they even have a Walmart on this side of Albuquerque now where you don't actually have to go through the mountain pass and then hit the traffic and all of that, so we're good. It's a lot better than it used to be, but there's small cities that way too, Clovis and Roswell's kind of a nice place to go because there's stuff there, but yet it's fairly low traffic. We're on the border, and the big issue is to build a wall. Not only that, but there are federal immigration laws that the southwestern states weren't keeping. And when Washington, the big guys told them, you need to start, enforcing these laws or we're cutting off federal aid. And so Texas and Arizona, two much wealthier states, and Texas huge, like several states, altogether, population and area-wise, they started abiding by the regulations. Well, all of theirs poured into New Mexico because New Mexico didn't. So now New Mexico has too many, and in a way they don't count because they can't vote. They're not legal citizens. As a matter of fact, they're on the lam. They just haven't made a big effort yet to find out where they are and pick them up like that. They're in fear, but it's just overwhelmed our state and messes up our economy, and it brings some in, but my thought is, personally, they need to develop their country. Even their president says, we need our people back. It's like, if you get rid of those drug lords, they have about 40-something% Democrats, 40-something% Republicans. Then they also have these two big Hispanic faction and Anglo. The line is fuzzy because not everybody fits into one of those two. The big change is part of our population here are Native Americans. Well, really, everybody stole it from the Indians, so they were here first. But that 11%, I believe, in the middle, they think differently than either one of the other two. They're not status quo. They got their own way. But if you can get them to turn out and vote, like you say, they make the difference. Our current governor is most unusual. She's Hispanic, female, Republican, and she sticks up for her people. She is kind-hearted. She has a heart. She even has a sister that's got Down syndrome, so she's real good-hearted. But she's real hard on the rules, like the drugs. And her big thing is, we have a lot of abuse of little babies here. They had gotten too soft on that. The thing is, if you make the punishment scary enough, maybe they won't do it to begin with. Because a lot of the people that are doing this are young and drug crazed, and they do it. And then 5 years later, when they're, cleaned out, they're going to spend the rest of their life in jail and their guilt and everything. But that was her big thing. Her term is almost over.
So there you have it, episode number 2 of Talking to Americans. We hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to send over your thoughts and comments via email or our social media accounts. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss the next episode.